Oh, it's really, really cracked.
You don't look happy.
It's a piece of All right, welcome back to episode, I don't even know, of reviving this high top for an Astro van. In the last episode, we ground out all the cracks, reinforced it a little bit, and gel coated everything. That was super fun.
That was a small amount of work.
Yeah.
No.
While the gel coat is still a little bit tacky, we're going to spray this primer, which is called Featherfill G2. It's a polyester primer, just like the resin or gel coat itself, so same chemical process. And what's interesting about it is that it never shrinks. So I figure with all this fresh gel coat on here, use this primer, it's going to get a really crazy good bond. And it's also kind of a build primer. It's a high build, so all the surface imperfections, not too concerned about. The plan is we're going to use this primer gun that I got at Harbor Freight. You need to use something with a big tip.
That's what she said. Oh my god, I can't believe you set that up for me.
This one is a 2mm. They even say you can use up to a 2.5mm for this thing. This primer, you have to use a catalyst with it just like you do fiberglass resin. It's pretty cold today. It's probably 50 degrees.
Yeah, that wind just picked up too.
You're not even supposed to shoot it this cold, but what we're going to do is we're going to try to keep this paint warm, mix it up, throw it in the gun, shoot it out here, and then roll it into the garage and turn on the heat. All right? Sounds like a plan. Let's do it. Okay, it looks like a mess in here because it is. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna mix the primer and the spray gun and stuff in here just because it's a little warmer. I'm trying to keep this up to temperature. So we're definitely going to strain the primer as we pour it into the gun. This is one of those little funnels with a screen on it to grab the globs. And then the other thing we're going to do is use a inline moisture filter, which will trap the moisture from your compressor. These are disposable. They're like $2 or $3. Oh wow, you can feel it's a high build primer. There's a bunch of crap down in the bottom of this. That's good.
I don't know. Why do you keep panning up to me? It's making me nervous. Get out of here. So,
let's shoot it. Alright dudes, next day, you can see this stuff is cured. Sarah globbered it on to all the little grooves here with a brush, just because the gel coat shrank quite a bit. I think it's actually gonna sand out. We might need to do one more coat of this primer, but all those small imperfections are kind of buried under this stuff. So the thought here is to use a really high grit and just lightly sand this thing and get off the high spots. Then we're going to move to a lower grit and scuff the whole thing and see what it looks like. So time lapse. Alright, so we have sanded it one more time. You can see that all those grooves are pretty much flat. This is basically like spraying on body filler. How much time we got in this thing, Sarah?
I don't want to talk about it.
The answer is 2.
Too much, yes.
Alright dudes, this is it. It's blocked. It is ready for the last coat of this polyester primer feather-filled G2. Yeah, I'm going to try to thin it a little bit with acetone. You can thin it with acetone up to 10%, so we're going to try to reduce it. And wow, yeah, there's a wind advisory today, so I'm glad this isn't a top coat, but we're going to try to get the last coat of this really high build primer on here, and I think it's going to turn out okay. All right, last coat of primer, right?
Dear God, I hope.
Yeah, I got a new spray gun and it worked a lot better. Also, cutting it with acetone, I think, helped quite a bit. But there's still a couple little imperfections. We're gonna wait for this to cure. We're gonna block it with like 120, go down to like 220. I don't know, then shoot it with something. I don't care what. Alright, another day, another dollar. We are going to put a little more effort into this thing and block sand it. What we're going to do first is spray some black lacquer just lightly all over the whole thing so we can tell where the low spots are. When you're sanding and you see a spot that still has the black spots all over it, that means that's low. Time lapse time. Alright, so this surface is not great yet. I mean, it's consistent, but it's not flat. So what I'm going to be doing now is block sanding. So I mean, if I want to block this surface, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this foam board, I'm going to go this way a few times at this 45-degree angle to the left. And then I'm going to go perpendicular to that and go to the right. You sand it off the spots in the high areas, and the spots remain in the low areas. So I have to do this over the whole thing with 120, and then we're going to go down to 220 and go from there. Hours later, we have finished sanding this thing. We sanded it down to 320. There's still some spots that are kind of eh. Honestly, most of it is pretty eh.
It's perfect.
But I mean, it's going on a rusty van trailer thing, so.
And then getting painted again.
Yeah, and this is to be clear here, a temporary paint job, because eventually this van is going to be resprayed the same color as the other van. What I want to do is get just a coat of paint on this to seal off the primer from the elements. You can see we burned through the primer in a whole lot of spots. Technically, we should prime it again and then sand it, but so I've got a Harbor Freight purple spray gun, and then I just have a disposable dryer. For paint, I'm using Duplicolor lacquer, so hopefully that should deal with this 45-degree temperature. Let's do it. Alright, I got a little bit of silver left. I just dumped what I had left in here, and we're just going to shoot it on here just to add more protection. Again, this is a temporary paint job, so I'm not too concerned about the quality, but you know what? The surface turned out a lot better than it used to look, so let's throw on one more coat. All right, we have it indoors. The heater is running. The epoxy is drying on that, which is the base plate for the foam front end. We just finished painting this thing, and I don't know, I got mixed feelings. I mean, it's one color. It looks better than it did. The surface quality turned out pretty decent, but the paint job itself, I mean, you can kind of see it's just uneven.
You did awesome. It's great.
I mean, it looks pretty good on camera, so I guess I could just talk it up. Oh man, this is so awesome. Do everything I said.
Comparatively speaking, this is fantastic.
Yeah, and this surface especially looks crappy. We spent the least amount of time fixing this surface because there's going to be a solar panel covering this, so it's kind of like whatever.
Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah. Yeah, that looks goofy in the back. I loaded up 2 coats here in hopes of it evening out, but it just looks strange.
Okay, Mr. Hard on himself, I love it. And I worked my fingers to like literally bleeding on this thing, so I'm very happy with how it turned out.
Alright, that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode where we install this on the van. I don't know how I'm doing that yet. I think we might be ratchet strapping it to the ceiling and then backing the van in here. I don't know. We'll find out, but temporary paint job complete. Cheers, dudes. Till next time.